Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to take a look at DNS information gathering tool inside of Kali Linux. And actually, the tools that is available here is most of the time available in across many Linux distros. The tools that we are going to take a look is host, and we have dig, and we're also going to take a look a little bit at DNS Enum. So first, um, let's take a look at hosts. Inside of Linux system, if we want to take a look at what certain commands do, we can use the command man or manual. We can use manual and a host. And we see here that it says host is a DNS lookup utility. And we can see here we have the keyword simple utility, and it normally converts name to IP addresses and vice versa. So we have a few options here, not a lot for host actually. We have the -4, -6 to specify if you're using IPv4 or IPv6. We're also using the -A or the all, which is to get all the data, and we have a bunch of other settings here. Our flags, we have port, we have types. So if you want to get a certain kind of DNS entry such as Cname, NS, SOA, or a record, you can pass it in the type flag. And then we have a bunch of other flags such as verbose and all the stuff, but it's not very sophisticated. It's designed to be easily understood by most of the people so that we can gather DNS information easily. So next, let's take a look at the manual of dig. For dig is also here. It says that it says DNS lookup utility, but the main difference is if we see here in the description, it doesn't say simple because dig is actually a more powerful version of host. If we take a look at the manual individually, we can see that host is designed to be more user friendly and easier to use, while dig is an implementation that allows you to do more powerful stuff, and it shows like more raw data so that you can process the data easier. So if you see here the simple usage, this is a typical invocation of dig. We have dig, and then we have the server, we have name and type. So server here is the IP address of the server, and then we have the name of the resource that is going to be looked up, and we have the type. Just like in the host, the type is just the type of the DNS entry. In this case, we have like A, MX, and like maybe Cname and all the stuff. So maybe let's take a look at the output of both host and dig. So let's run host, and then in this case, I'm going to use my own site so that I'm familiar with the DNS entries. So we can do like this, host and whatcode.com. And here I'm having two IP addresses and IPv6, and also I have a mail entry. So I'm using a Cloudflare firewall. So if we copy the IP address and do a CURL to get the data, 104, 2172, and 184, it'll say something like error code 1003, which means that the site is not accessible by using the IP address. We should access it with the domain. And then let's try to do it with the dig command. So we can do dig, then whatcode.com. So with dig command, actually the information that is being printed out is kind of similar, but rather than like printing out in a user friendly or very beginner friendly format, it prints out the whole DNS stuff in like more complicated way, but in a more raw way, so that for experts they have more information to work with. And if we take a look again at the manual of dig, we can see that it provides more than just DNS tool. We have I believe, let's see, we have a lot of different options here. We can set up the expiry. We have a lot of different ignore stuff. We have retry and all those stuff, which is not available in the host command. These two tools in conclusion, it's very similar, but they have different kind of uh, user. So host, the user that is going to use host is most likely going to need a tool that is more beginner friendly and user friendly. But for more advanced user, they can use dig because it provides more raw information to work with. So it's sometimes providing more information for them. The third tool that we're going to take a look is a tool that we call as DNS Enum. So this is a tool. So let's take a look at the man page. So we have here DNS Enum. So it's a multi-thread script to enumerate information on the server and discover non-contagious IP blocks. If we see here, it has a lot of different operations that is available. For example, we get the A record of a website address, which means that we get where the domain is pointing to. We get the name server. We get the mail entry, and then we have like get extra name and subdomains via Google scraping. So we can, for example, if the site is google.com, we can get like mail.google.com. We can also brute force the subdomain, and we can also calculate the C-class IP, and then we can perform reverse lookup on the domain and a lot of different stuff. Of course, because this is not a very simple scripts, there's a lot of different options and flags that is available to this command. But in our case, we're going to just demonstrate the most simple and basic stuff to use. We can just type DNS Enum, and then we can do maybe like my site boatcoding.com, and then it'll start finding different entries. For example, we have this host addresses. This is my A record from my domain to the IP address, and since it's proxied, so we cannot access this IP directly. And if you see here, we have the name server of the domain. I'm using Cloudflare as the proxy, so we can see here we have a subdomain of the Cloudflare domain as my name server to the domain. And also this is my mail server. Actually, I'm not proxying it, so if you open this directly, we can on this IP address directly, this is the IP address of my server. We are also having like brute forcing stuff, and this may take a while. And if we see here, we have the FTP, which is the file transfer protocol, and then we have the mail protocol here inside of this entry by brute forcing. This may take a while to gather the complete information. So I believe let's not wait for it. And there is like a lot of information that can be gathered and a lot of different configuration that can be used with this DNS Enum. So next, we can take a look at how to gather information with this tool. So Arvin will continue with the explanation.
Hello and welcome to the second section of the video. My name is Arvin, and in this section of the video, I'm going to show a quick use case of host. So host, as we have known before, is a simple utility for performing DNS lookups, and host is normally used to convert names to IP addresses and vice versa. Okay, so unlike other commands which require age, flag, or help to show the use case and the options, here in host you don't need that. You can simply type host. It will show the host usage here as well as the options. So first and foremost, I'm going to make a simple query for google.com. And to do that, I can simply type host followed by the name of host, which is google.com, enter, and these are the information returned from this query. Okay, next would be the simple query for boatcoding.com, enter, and these are the information returned. Okay, so next I'm going to make a host query using IP address, or this process known as reverse lookup. And we can simply type host and followed by the IP address. Here I'm going to copy this IP address from Google, paste it here, enter, and this is the information returned from this reverse lookup. Okay, same thing happens for portfolio.com. Okay, copy and paste it here. Okay, so the result here says that no PTR record. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we can also use host to display the MX records. So I'm going to display the MX record for google.com. And to do that, I'm going to use the flag here, which is an option used to specify the DNS query type, and followed by the MX, because we are going to display the MX records, and finally the hostname. So google.com, enter, and so these are the MX. So okay, the MX for portfolio.com. Yep, and next would be to find out the domain name servers, and to do that, we simply change this MX here into NS, which stands for name servers, followed by the host name, and enter. Okay, so these are the NS name servers, and next would be the name servers for portfolio.com. Enter, and yep, this is it. And moving on to the next one would be the txt record. So simply type host, the T flag, and txt, followed by the host name, and enter. Okay, so these are the txt records for Google, and next one would be the portfolio.com. Okay, unfortunately it says that connection time out. I'm going to retry this again. Okay, so here the result of the query says that portfolio.com doesn't have any txt record. Okay, so we can also use host to find out the SOA record. To do that, same procedure, but now I'm going to use SOA. Google.com, enter. Okay, so this is the SOA for Google.com. So next would be the SOA for portfolio.com. Yep, it's done. And next would be the query for particular name servers. So to do that, we can type in the host name, followed by the name server of Google, which we have done before here, and we can simply copy this name server and paste it here. Enter, and it's going to show the information for this the particular name server. Okay, so the same thing happens for portfolio.com. So type in portfolio.com hostname, and followed by the name server here. Okay, paste and enter, and it's going to show this information as well. So okay, next would be the Cname record, and host. Again, use the flag here, and followed by this Cname, and finally the I'm going to use the mail.google.com. Enter. Okay, so here it says that mail.google.com is an alias for Google mail.outlook.google.com. Let's try for portfolio.com. Okay, says that here that portfolio.com has no Cname record. We can also use host. We can also display all information regarding domain records and zone by using the A flag and followed by the host name here. We'll try google.com and enter. Fortunately, it says here that the condition is timeout. We can also try to use the IP address of Google here. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Enter. And yep, so these are the information here written by this query. So again, host A and the IP address for portfolio.com. Please enter. And yep, this information are returned. Okay, so we can also get the TTL information by typing host fee flag, which stands for propose, and then type a google.com. Okay, so this is the TTL information, and next will be the TTL information for portfolio.com. Press enter. Okay, so these are the information. And last but not least, one thing that I forgot to mention before, that the host A followed by the IP address. This command is the same as the host fee flag and followed by type /d and any. So the A flag is similar to this command here. So I'm going to type and press enter, and yep, the information you see here is exactly the same with the information shown here. So those two host flag A and followed by the IP address or host name will be the same one as this host verbose type any this IP address. They are both the same. Okay. So for additional information, we can also set the query time wait for reply, and to do that we can use host, the capital T and capital W. Final set the time, which will be 10 seconds, and final followed by the host name. So we can also use the lowercase w. So what this means is it's going to wait for reply. It doesn't specify the time limit, so it's going to wait until there is a reply from google.com. So here I'm going to use the capital W here instead of the lowercase one, and I'm going to set it 10 seconds and press enter. Okay, so unfortunately it doesn't take 10 seconds. It's around 5 seconds here, and these are the information. So yeah, that's it. And also we can set the UDP retries for a lookup, and to do that we can type host and use the R flag, capital R, and set the number of retries. So in case of the timeout or fail, so I'm going to type google.com here, the name of the domain or host name, press enter. Okay, again, it's going to return this information. Okay, so that's all for this showcase. Thank you for watching.